Some foundational questions. You visited the site and the surrounding area?
Yes.
All right. You've reviewed all the application materials and plans, reports associated with the project?
Yes.
You've heard all the testimony that's been given thus far?
Yes.
All right. And you've also reviewed the zoning ordinance as well as the master plan for the township of Teaneck?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you give your professional planning opinion on this case? Why don't we just start with the overall zoning and some of the affordable housing requirements that are necessitated by this project?
Sure. Very much broad. We are, first and foremost, we're located in a couple of different zone districts. We're actually a split lot district with an overlay zone. So the underlying zoning is the LI light industry zone district, and that's for the land of this the L-shaped property, if you will, that's along the railroad, along Conrail. And then we're also in the RS, the residential single family zone district, and that's for the portion of the property that extends to Palisade Avenue. But in addition to those zone districts, we are also subject to an overlay zone district, which is the RAHO, the Residential Affordable Housing Overlay Zone. And that's a zone district that was created by Teaneck in 2019. And the zone district was done for a very specific purpose, and that is to create affordable housing here in Teaneck. This municipality, just like every other one across the state, has an affordable housing obligation. It's a constitutional affordable housing obligation. And in 2015, when there was opportunity to do so, Teaneck filed a declaratory judgment, which essentially told the court that the Superior Court, they wanted to comply with their affordable housing obligations. Fast forward a few years, Teaneck settled with Fair Share Housing Center, putting together a settlement agreement that expressed the municipality's obligation, affordable housing obligation, and how that would be met, as well as a number of other terms. That settlement agreement, which was approved by the court, was ultimately implemented in the form of a housing element and fair share plan, which is an element of the master plan. That, of course, was adopted by the planning board. It was also endorsed by the governing body and also approved by the court. In that housing plan, it fleshed out all of the terms of the settlement agreement, but it specifically addressed this property. It's referred to as the Holuba property in there, and it called for inclusionary housing consistent with what we're proposing here today for the property. And specifically, this site is a third round affordable housing site, and it's going to meet a portion of the township's, I believe, 538 unit unmet need. And so this property is zoned specifically for, while we are an overlay, that does mean that the site is zoned specifically for the use that were proposed here today. And we are doing so largely in a conforming manner, although we do have a couple of variances that I'm here to talk to you about this evening.
All right, so before you get into the bulk variances that we have, just very quickly, the affordable housing component of this project complies with the settlement agreement and all other requirements now that we've made that slight modification based on Ms. Laney's comments.
Yes, I'm pleased to see that was a change that we're able to make, because yes, now we are able to fulfill all of the relevant terms of the settlement agreement that are subject, for this site. We're also able to fulfill the intent of the housing element, and specifically, we'll make sure that the 16 affordable units proposed on this property will indeed be eligible for credit, because it'll have now it will have the proper bedroom distribution, and of course, it will also have the proper income distribution, affirmative marketing, etc. All of those requirements that are necessary for affordable units.
Okay,
Jason, I just have a quick question. The affordable units are dispersed evenly among the properties, or?
No, I'll let Beth answer. Per the settlement agreement, go ahead, Beth, just answer that.
Yeah, the affordable units are located in the multifamily building, and the townhouses are indeed the market rate housing.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so Beth, let's go through some of the bulk variants. All right, and can you just finally, in the variances, speak about the second prong of the negative criteria, substantial impairment to the zone plan or zone ordinance.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. There are a couple pieces of the master plan that are relevant. Yes, the housing plan, which I want to address in a minute, but there are also some goals and objectives in the 2017 re-examination report, which are helpful and supportive of the variances requested this evening. The first is to provide, it's goal 4, which is to provide a balanced land use pattern and appropriate development controls. We also are supported by goal 5, which is to guide appropriate development and growth in a coordinated and managed approach. And then we also are supporting objective 3, which is to encourage the revitalization of vacant buildings and encourage the rehabilitation and restoration of brownfields and other contaminated buildings and land. And we're certainly, I think, directly on point, especially with that objective. But in addition to these broad land use goals and objectives, we are specifically consistent with the master plan, the housing element of the master plan, which, as I said, was recently amended in support of the 2017 settlement agreement to recommend an overlay zone, which was later adopted as the RAHO zone by the governing body. And that zoning was recommended specifically to fulfill a portion of the township's 538 unit unmet need. And so by an approval of this property would allow the municipality to meet a portion of its constitutional obligation in a manner that's consistent with its master plan, consistent with the settlement agreement, and consistent with the court orders that address both of those documents.